and welcome to Getting To Know ACS with Tracy
and Jasmine.
So we're here today. This is going to be part 2 of our healthy relationship podcast that we started.
Yes.
In the last one. So we're going to go a little more into talking about what these relationships look like. So just as a refresher, I'm going to put our little R.A.M board up. You want to grab that? Okay. So again, this is our relationship attachment model. And basically, we have those 5 areas that make a healthy relationship. That's knowing, trusting, relying, commitment, and touch. And so we don't want any of these bars to go up higher than the preceding one. So like right now, this board is really messed up and this relationship is probably not going to be a great one. So Jasmine,
yes.
Let's just go into it. Let's talk about different scenarios or whatever, or what some relationships could look like. And then I'll just kind of say where they are on this board.
Okay. So before we start, can we actually move it to see what it's actually supposed to look? Because I know this one's supposed to be really...
That one should be higher.
Yeah.
And then move the trust. You can move the trust up a little higher. Just don't let it proceed. So these can all... They could even be even.
Even.
And then
that one's...
That touch, girl, that touch. Okay, so this would look like what a healthy relationship.
Got it. Okay.
Because as long as the one that precedes it or comes after it doesn't go higher,
yes,
than the one before it. So this is a healthy relationship right here. Okay. So we want to know that person really well. And remember what I said about knowing. Knowing is talking and spending time. So let's talk about that.
Yes. So we were talking a little bit earlier today, and I had mentioned that, people will slide in that DM and then they have a talking phase. Does that count for the 90 days?
No. So if you didn't watch the last podcast, so there is you shouldn't commit yourself to a relationship until you've known that person at least 90 days.
Right.
And the reason being is because I can send my representative for 90 days. I can be on my best behavior for 90 days. But normally after the 90 days, that's when our true colors start to show.
Right.
So, yeah, people can slide in your DMs. They can send you text messages. And you're saying, okay, I'm talking to them. I've been talking to them for months.
Yeah.
But have you interacted with them? Have you spent time with them?
And you can't read their energy, right? So, if they say something, they can be like, oh, that's ridiculous. But then give the perfect response.
Exactly.
So that will fog your, what is it? The one where you... put the picture in your head of what they will do.
That trust.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it does, because now during the text message or going back and forth in the DMs, I have time to think about, what does this person probably really want me to say here? How am I going to be able to present myself in the best light?
Yes.
So I can send that to you. I probably typed out a whole bunch of stuff and back, erase all that and start all over.
Yeah.
So just because you're talking to someone doesn't necessarily mean, and you may be talking to them for several months.
Yes.
But if that's all you're doing is talking to them, you don't know that person.
Right.
So you have to spend time. So just that initial time, what you said, where it's now they say they have a talking phase. So explain it. What was that? Because I'm old.
So I had somebody tell me. So, she was in a relationship and she was like, yeah, we have to go through this talking phase. Well, you have to get through the talking phase. So you have to keep the interest.
Right.
Through text messaging, which for me personally, I could get tired of you and just be agreeable. Oh, this is what I think. Okay.
Because I want you to get off.
But I'm just oh, you're so annoying. But eventually I'm going to stop texting. But I guess for some people, they keep the conversation going. So you're texting for hours on that's torture. But once you get through that, it's almost okay, now that we got through this phase, however long it may be, we're going to go on a couple dates. And then we're going to go commit. So now we're boyfriend and girlfriend. We love each other unconditionally. We're going to die for each other. And it's that's not true.
That's what you think.
Yeah.
So I would say in that scenario where you're doing all the talking, the 90 days shouldn't start until you start interacting with each other.
Which should also not consistently be like going out to restaurants, right? It should be different
scenarios. And I'm glad you brought that up. So I need to see you in different settings. I need to see you with your friends. How do you act with your friends? How do you act with your family? How do you act in just a social situation?
Right.
Where it's not just me and you, where the focus isn't just on us, but where I can see you. And then, and this is another thing. If you're in a social situation, you're like, oh, well, we go out all the time. But if you're out with each other and you're glued to each other's hips, where you're not really interacting with people, then that's not really, spending time.
Right.
Because I need to see how comfortable you are with your family. And I know a lot of times people are like, well, in 90 days, I don't even want you to meet my family.
That is true.
Because I'm like, I don't know if you're going to be around. I ain't getting ready to let you meet my family. But if I can see you around your friends, your close friends, which you would consider your family, that would be close enough that I can see how you behave around your friends.
Got it. Okay.
Because basically you're going to be able to tell that energy, if they're being fake with their friends, that energy is going to be really obvious. You'll be like, are y'all really good friends?
Right. And you have that one friend that's going to be like, what's wrong with your boyfriend? Okay, because why is he in the corner? We don't like that. There's that too, so.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so you want to make sure that those interactions aren't just the fun things.
Okay.
And which brings me to this too. A lot of times when we get in relationships, how do you feel if you put yourself in a relationship? Would you think that if you had an argument, oh, my relationship is over?
That is usually me. Like, wow, we disagreed.
Okay. But it's very important to see how somebody is when they're angry. And the reason being is because I need to know what your reactions are.
Right.
And if you never have a disagreement, then I don't know, are you really happy?
Yeah.
Or are you just satisfying me and your needs are not being met?
Right.
Because when you have disagreements, that's a healthy relationship.
Yes.
Now, how you handle the disagreement, that's where it becomes unhealthy. But if I need to see you when you get upset, I need to see how you what your reaction is if I do something petty or something like that. It's like, oh, for a guy, you didn't flip down the toilet seat. Right. Now, if I come out and I'm cussing you out because you didn't do that, that might be a little bit over the top. If that's consistent, Yes. But you might want to cuss somebody out if you've ever fallen into a toilet.
Especially at 3 a.m.
In the morning, and that water is cold.
This is ridiculous. Yeah.
But you need to see how, we need to understand how this person handles different emotions. So if you can, in that area of knowing, you need to kind of see how they handle sadness, how they handle excitement, or being overly happy, how they handle a disagreement. That's all part of knowing somebody, because the whole family thing too, you need to kind of see how do they handle a disagreement within their family.
Right.
Knowing their family history, because if you come from a family that yells a lot and you get with somebody whose family is like, oh, we don't yell, then if that's my way of communicating, you might think that, oh, there's something wrong. Why are you yelling at me? Well, no, that's just how I talk to people.
Yes, that is a disclaimer that I give. I'm just like, I'm a yeller, whether I'm excited or I'm like super mad. Like there's just, you can't tell. Right?
Yeah. So that's important to understand. And especially if you're with someone who comes from a background that's completely different from that.
Yeah.
Because now I don't have to take it personally.
Right.
So that's why we have to understand those, we need to spend the time with them and then we have to talk to them and not just superficial talk.
Yes.
Let's have those deep conversations. What do you want out of life? Where do you see yourself going?
Yes.
But of course, you don't want to make it seem like a job interview either. But it could be an interview.
Yeah, because if we're not aligned, there's no point. Like,
we don't even have to worry about the rest of it.
It's like we just failed.
Yeah. So we need to make sure, on the knowing that we're talking and not just superficial talking, and that we are spending time in different situations, different scenarios that can kind of give us a full picture. Yeah. And as we said before, is because during that knowing stage, that's where we start to go into that trust, because now I'm trusting you when I'm not with you, but I'm basing that trust, I'm filling in those gaps that I don't know about you from what I'm filling in those gaps of what I think you would do.
Right.
From how I know you,
Yes,
if that makes sense.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So.
And then I feel like another trend, thanks to social media, is those super quick marriages, which no judgment. I'm just saying it's a trend, right? So
Right, it
like,
is.
I'll see some people, because I get sucked in on TikTok so bad, where they're just like, oh, we went on our first date and then got married, and now our family is happy with 10 children. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, right? Like, are those fix-it babies? Because, you know, but whatever. So then they don't highlight the bad stuff. They just glorify the good stuff. Not to mention there's editing involved. There's, you know, like, let's take this part out where we cussed each other out before we went on this vacation.
Right,
because
exactly.
We know that 99% of everybody in the world argues while packing and getting children ready for this road trip, okay?
Exactly. That's just life.
That's just life. So then you're just like, wow, I want that. So I meet Joe, and you know what, Joe, let's just get married and we're going to have this perfect life. But then they're bummed 2 years later when these people are now getting divorced.
Exactly.
Because their marriage has been what is it? Like on bad terms the entire time. So they just sold you a false story. Hello, marketing.
And that comes, so if you look at this, because this is just any relationship, really. So, you know, a lot of times on social media, we do invest in those things, those people that we follow.
Yes.
And so it's a commitment thing. And when people think about commitment, you think about, oh, you're my one, you're my person.
Yeah.
But even on social media, you're like, these are my people. This is who I want to fashion myself towards. I want to look like them. I want to be like their relationship. And in that, you start to lose who you really are.
Yes.
Because you're caught up in that. And what you find out is that they didn't even have all this. And now it lets you down.
Right.
So a lot of times when you have those couples on social media, and I won't say that I know it, but I would guess that they have a lot of touch involved. They probably don't really know each other.
Right.
But then, so move that down. They probably don't really know each other that well. And then they rely on each other. So we're going to raise that up. Because guess what? We have a image to protect. So I need to rely on you to show up.
Yes.
So because I'm relying on you to show up, you're my person now, and we have to look like we have this healthy relationship. We have to look like we're really committed to each other. But that trust level is probably down here.
Right.
Okay. So the relationship on social media will look like it's in the right order, when in reality it's probably something like this.
Right.
You know, and the thing about when we have that commitment, we have to think about, you know, especially when it comes to social media, we have to think about what we put out there. Because like you said, people do get invested in those relationships.
Right.
You know, like you say, you get sucked in on TikTok, you get sucked in on Instagram.
Well, YouTube, there was a girl that I followed, and I was just like, man, her relationship is like perfect. Of course, I'm younger than, right? So I kind of follow them, and I'd be like, wow, like they're at another party, right? So then 5 years later, they're just like, we're getting a divorce, and we haven't been happy since we started.
It's like we never were happy.
First of all, do not lie to me like this.
Because you were committed to them.
Yeah, because I was just like, if there's something that I want, it's gonna be this. But it was all a facade, right? It was all for likes and subscribers, and I'm just like.
And I think with social media, especially when it comes to relationships, there's such a false perception of what a healthy relationship looks like. And I know in the past you've brought up who is that?
Megan Fox.
Yeah. And where now they're like, oh, having a volatile relationship is like, oh, that's the end thing to do. But that's not a healthy relationship either.
Like the intensity.
You know. And as I mentioned before, because when you have those hormones and things that are going in different things are being released in your body when you're in love, we don't make wise decisions.
Right.
Studies show that when you're in love, that, your brain kind of shuts down. You can't make smart decisions in the initial stages of love.
Right.
And then when you fall out, when that love mellows out,
yeah.
it's like, oh, okay.
It's like, wow, that's really annoying. You've been doing that the whole time?
Exactly. and I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of times we get into the relationship and we'll see red flags and we're like, oh, that's cute. You do this all the time.
Yeah.
And really it annoys you.
Right.
But you're like, oh, they're not gonna do that, or it's not really a big deal for me. But then when you start to make that commitment, you realize, I don't like that.
For me, it's breathing. Like, have you been breathing that loud the entire time? It's so loud, but I mean, that's usually when I know I kind of woke up. So
yeah, and the thing is, people will overlook those. We can say red flags, or we can say our gut.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can meet somebody and you're like, I know this person isn't right for me,
or they think they'll change, right?
That,
like, you know what, they'll change. When we're together for 5 years, they're gonna be like, yeah, honey, I changed that thing that you didn't like that I've been doing for 5 years.
No,
it's never happened.
That doesn't happen. It's like, no, I showed you who I am. This is who I am. I sit on the couch and I pick the toenails. So it's, I think with social media, it's done a disservice. Love social media because we're on it.
Yeah. We're not knocking it.
We're not knocking it, but I think that the way that people portray their relationships in social media, basically what you see on social media is this.
Yeah.
The touch part where we're all in love with each other, and you see what you perceive to be the commit part, but you don't really see the rest of that.
Yeah.
You don't know how well they know each other.
Right.
And speaking, you talked about how people will say, oh, I've known you for 2 weeks, let's go get married. Or they've had a whole relationship on going back and forth with text messages or whatever. They may have met each other on a dating app, and one person lives one place and another person lives another place, and they built this whole relationship and have never really spent time together.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm gonna fly out here to see you. I'll see you for the weekend. We're gonna do all the fun stuff.
Look at the TV shows we watch, right? What is that one?
The one Married at First Sight.
Yeah, 90 Day Fiance.
Oh yes, exactly. And then they bring those, they get together, they live. It's like, oh no, what happened to the fun? I thought we were gonna go on vacation, because every time we met each other, we were on vacation.
And some of those people had the relationship for 5 years.
Exactly.
But because they didn't spend time with each other, it was not a good relationship.
Yeah, and then that the show that I just love, the show, is where they get married the first time you see them. You're getting married to them, and that is a train wreck.
That is,
but some of them work out. So it's not saying that if you don't follow this, that your relationship is going to be horrible.
Right.
But because there are exceptions to every rule. It's not like 100%. But if you really want to be in a relationship, not based on what you see on TV, not based on what you see on social media, this would be more appropriate and more realistic.
Yeah.
And there's much more to this. In the class, we go into a lot more detail with each one of these traits here. We go into what that actually looks like, and they go into the different exercise. They have exercises to see how well you know someone.
Right.
Because you're getting ready to marry someone, and you don't even know what their favorite color is, or you don't even know what their middle name is. It's like,
and to put this out there, like, you have to know yourself first. Like, you have to know what it is you want and what you don't want.
Exactly.
Before you can even get to know anyone else. Because if not, I feel like people will just be like, well, I think that's what I'm supposed to like.
And you're so right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because if you don't know yourself, you can't really know someone else. So what you think you know about someone else, all of a sudden you start molding yourself to them.
Right. And then when you wake up and you're in your 30s and you're just like, this is not who I want to be.
And that's where you have that commit.
And then that's how those long relationships just collapse.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, we've been together all this time, but you know what?
Yeah.
I don't really like you.
Yeah. And
in fact, I don't even love you.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It takes a lot. Relationships are work, and like I said, just because you don't get along all the time, that's okay, because I need to see you in those bad times. I need to see you in bad times. I need to see you in good times. I need to get a full picture of you, and just kind of, go from there.
So with this, let's say they're in a relationship, they do know the person, right? They know the person pretty good, and then all of those kind of are normal. So
we'll put that like here.
Yes.
So
oops. With this, let's say they did it right. Okay. Is this a continual process?
It is a continuing process.
Okay. So because there's different phases in life, right? Like you might just become super successful, get a bunch of money, and now I don't know you because I never knew you with money.
Exactly. And you change. And like you said, different stages of our lives, because you can know somebody, the person that you knew. So for instance, you could know somebody in high school and you've gone through all these stages with them and I know you, but then guess what? We start changing, we evolve. But if we're not evolving together, or if we're not sharing what how we're growing, if we're not sharing that, then that knowing goes down, because I don't know you as this person.
Okay.
So like you said, we use the example of money. I don't know you with money. I know you as a broke person. I don't know how you act with money.
So you were humble. Now you're
not.
So.
And now you're just like off the chain. And I can't stand that. So it is an evolving thing that you have to work on. This is something that it's not an end goal. It's not like, okay, I know you. Now I don't have to try. I don't have to invest in knowing you anymore.
Got it. So if this goes down, let's say they were good, a major life event happened, right? Where it's like, okay, now I don't know you anymore because you're changing. How do we fix this?
So this right here, this is where you have to start investing in each other.
But do you stop these?
No, because these are going to be where they're at.
Okay.
So we're going to have to bring it back up. Naturally, your trust level may go down a little bit
as well.
So like, say for instance, if somebody had something devastating happen in their life, a tragic event.
Yes.
Okay. That they become a different person. Now my trust, I can still trust you because I'm basing it on what I do know.
Yes.
But I still have to go back and work on getting to know you as somebody who has had lost, or someone who has experienced tragic events. So, you take I'll put it into the military. So you have a soldier who has gone off, been deployed. They've seen horrific things. Then they come back. I don't really know you. So now I have to still get to know you, but I still need to have that trust with you that I had already built.
Got it. Okay.
Based on the relationship before.
Yeah.
I still can rely on you based on that relationship before, but I definitely need to go back and work to get to know who you are.
Right.
And sometimes my trust may drop down because of who you've become. So it's constant. It's something that you have to be working on all the time.
And speaking with military, on those deployments, you're spending an entire year by yourself. You are going to get to know yourself in all types of situations.
Right.
To the point where life hasn't really changed over there, right?
Right.
Like, it's almost like time stops a little bit. But then, there's a whole new world that you're going back to, and then you don't recognize your wife or husband or spouse, your kids, and you're just like, so I feel like sometimes people can be left behind because it's like, I actually didn't like what we had. I don't like what we have anymore.
Exactly.
So
it's good, and I'm glad you brought that up, even though it's not this class, but I would encourage anyone whose spouse has gone through whose soldier has been deployed, coming back home, call ACS and find out about the post-deployment training for spouses, because it lets you know how to bring that relationship back together.
Right.
You know, what are the steps that we need to do? Because 9 months apart, a lot of stuff happens in 9 months.
Right.
You know, like I say, you can have a whole baby in 9 months.
Yeah.
So a whole
Yeah.
life can be brought in 9 months. And if you're not tracking that there's changes that I've changed and that my soldier has changed, all this stuff starts falling apart.
Right.
You know,
but with this class, let's say that situation does happen and, you know, you guys are apart or whatever, and it's like we're not bonding. Can you kind of put a break on everything and be like, okay, let's go back to this one and get to know each other again?
And that's where it comes back into we're going to go on. You have to start dating your spouse again.
Yeah.
It's like starting a new relationship.
Yeah. And you gotta, I feel like, maybe take your personal feelings out of it too.
Yeah. And don't forget, you know, if you're married already, you're not gonna, that's gonna stay up here, because if you take this down, that's gonna just add problems on top. So if you didn't see that, I moved the touch thing up.
So this is just a basic guide to
this is just a basic guide.
You.
So, you know, not only do we help with single soldiers with their relationships, but we also help with those couples who may be struggling getting to know each other, getting used to being back in the same house again.
Yeah.
Okay. ACS, we're just awesome.
Yes.
We have so much to offer. So anything else you want to talk about on this? And again, this class is called How to Avoid Falling for a Jerk or a Jerkette.
Yeah.
AKA pick.
Yes. Okay. So no, I don't think I have any more questions.
Okay. I think this was a good conversation. What do you think? Okay.
Especially putting social media in there.
Yeah, because, you know,
and the false advertising.
I'm sure when this class was developed, social media wasn't as big as social media was around, but it wasn't like it is now. So, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So with that being said, that concludes our little, what is it, series? It was 2. Does that make a series?
Yes, maybe.
I don't know. But anyway, our little 2-part podcast on relationships. And again, all this information, you can get this from ACS. Just contact us, ask us about the communication class, be it for singles or for married couples, and also ask about the post-deployment training for when your soldier is coming back from a deployment.
Yeah.
And I would really encourage people to do that, because people do go through changes while they're gone. So anything else? Do you have anything?
No.
Okay. So again, we're not asking the joy question, because we were just talking about a class. This class brings me joy because, you know what, I think is very beneficial and helps people to have healthy relationships.
Yes.
So anyway, so with that being said, we're going to end our podcast today. So this is Getting to Know Tracy. Oh, it's not Getting to Know Tracy. You don't want to get to know me, really? Sorry. Cut. Anyway, this is Getting to Know ACS with Tracy
and Jasmine. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell.
Bye.